Hello, King Heads out there. Toward the Max Extreme here.
And Ghost Hunter Dave.
Together, we are Imperius Rex.
That's right, we are. Still going strong.
Barely.
Yes. Darkseid is.
Mm-hmm.
So 2018, DC Comics kicked off a 12-issue maxi series with Golden Child Tom King, joined by artist and partner Mitch Gerads, and they created an Eisner Award-winning take on one of the most unapproachable corners of the DC universe.
Yeah.
Mr. Miracle. Troy, who is Mr. Miracle?
Mr. Miracle is a Kirby creation.
Yep.
Part of his Fourth World whole series he had going on. He is the son of the High Father.
Yes.
Given to Darkseid in order to have... It's like a sun swap.
Yep.
In order for their worlds to come to peace for a little bit.
There was probably a reality show going on in the Fourth World that chronicled those adventures.
That's right. But he is also the master escape artist. He's very well known to have a relationship with Big Barda.
That's right. One of the Furies, the female Furies of Apocalypse, led by Granny Goodness.
Yes.
The worst character in comics.
Or best. You know, she was voiced by Ed Eisner in a cartoon.
Oh, well,
that's pretty great.
That is great. You can only go up from there.
Oh.
Yes! Yes!
That was really good, Dave.
Up reference. Number 1. All right. We should mention, too, that we are enjoying an old-fashioned courtesy of... I mean, you bought it, so yourself.
Me.
But in honor of Mitch Gerads, who has been known to partake in the beverage from time to time.
Yes.
At least according to his Twitter feeds.
His Twitter feeds are thirsty.
Yeah, so, well, he's got a kid.
The first introduction to Mr. Miracle I've ever had was in Seven Soldiers. And it wasn't my favorite.
No, he's a different character, or a different hero. Shiloh Norman, I think? Yeah.
But, we just come to a full stop.
So, why is this comic important? Why do you think it won all these awards and got all this accolade?
I could tell you why.
Tell me.
First of all, I think it's written very well. It takes a realistic approach to a very fantastical character to really get behind like a family dynamic of what is going on in just a everyday life of this master escape artist.
Yeah. I feel like it tells a story about anxiety and depression, but points it through this really fantastical Fourth World lens, where it's just like the most polarizing in terms of what the what the story is saying.
Yes.
And what, like, the actions that Scott Free and his wife are undertaking at home. So, like, the Fourth World is hard to get into.
It is, because I'm only just kind of now, after doing this show for a long time and getting into weirder stuff, finding myself interested in it.
Same here.
Before, I'm just like, I don't want anything to do with that. I don't get it.
Yeah.
It's beyond me.
You got to work your way up to it.
Exactly.
It's an acquired taste.
It is, exactly.
It's like Asgardians and Inhumans, but even more complex and ridiculous.
Yeah.
But I think the key to what makes this so readable is that Tom King paints them as, like, shockingly human.
Oh, yeah.
And relatable and mundane. Like, the stuff that they're doing, even when they're off, like, in battle and, like, between battles, is just, like, checking their mother box like it was a phone and just, like, bullshitting about who's gonna pick up the kid and, you know, if they need to order something at the store.
Yeah. Like, as odd enough as it is, that is, like, some of my favorite points in the books, where they're just, the whole issue, they're just talking about, like, adding a room.
Yeah.
to the house for something and you don't know yet, and
as they're charging through like this army of parademons and goons that they're just like slaughtering, and they don't ever break conversation as they're just discussing the ins and outs of like redecorating their home.
And it's just so juxtaposed against it, makes it visually interesting while also so relatable that like this is a conversation anyone would have, and for whatever reason those aren't in books, and I really like this what's going on right now.
Exactly. So this kicks off right off the bat with this like bombastic narrator saying like, "Oh, welcome to the trials and tribulations of Mr. Miracle, Master Escape Artist," and then like smash cut to him bleeding out on the bathroom floor after just attempting to commit suicide.
Yeah. Heavy stuff.
It is. It is. So there's this immediate stark dichotomy between like the fantastic, like crazy comic book narration and bleak reality.
Yes.
So Scott-Free is a damaged man. He has had a lifetime of trauma at the hands of Darkseid and Granny Goodness in the pits of Apocalypse. He's escaped time and time again, but still feels like trapped by it. And I feel like the whole book he's suffocating at just like the force of life itself, maybe?
Yeah.
Or just this overpowering, overwhelming sense of...
That's like pressure.
Yeah.
I guess, because at the same time, he's also being spurred to become like the leader of...
the New Genesis troops.
Yeah.
Who is waging war on Apocalypse in the Fourth World throughout this. Yeah,
and then also later on you find out that he's going to also become a father. And so he's got like these huge heavy things weighing on him. And it's... just by what's going on in my life now, I'd be in that tub.
I definitely wanted to hear your thoughts on this, because you have, a littler one than I do, so that's fresh. And just, life can be hectic.
It can.
It throws some curveballs at you, if we can get right down to it here. It was very relatable.
Yeah, I like how the story also progresses month to month in real time. His son ages in it.
His beard grows.
And his beard grows. I'm a big fan of the beard.
Oh, the beard looks great. And that looks great when he shaves it off, too. He can wear it both ways. He's a man of many talents.
He's a Renaissance man.
Yes.
Is that what they call those guys?
That's it. Yeah, they usually have beards until they don't. So Darkseid is... What is Darkseid? What is Darkseid is? If we were on Jeopardy, I believe that would be the answer to the most confusing question. So Darkseid is. This is a phrase introduced by Grant Morrison.
Oh, I didn't know that.
During JLA Rock of Ages.
I didn't know that.
I didn't either. I knew it was prevalent in that, but I did not know that was its first incarnation until I looked it up, and sure enough, boom,
shoot,
Morrison just sprinkling
this stuff.
Mystic goodness all over the place. So, Darkseid strives to conquer and enslave all life with the anti-life equation. And I feel like the term Darkseid is just synonymous with, like, power, control, futility, evil, oppression, anything negative.
Right.
Anything and everything. It is just like, it is bad, to put it bluntly. Anything in life that is bad, Darkseid is.
Yes.
He's behind it. That is kind of the thing that's clawing at Scott-Free. Just this feeling of like dread and anxiety. And I feel like life itself is hard. Like there's hardships in life. And he's fighting it until he gives up at the beginning and looks for a way out, an escape, if you will. So he attempts to escape life through suicide, is saved on the brink of death, and then returns to, I guess, his normal life, but has just this kind of gnawing feeling, which is kind of illustrated by these weird scattered, what would you say? How would you describe the scrambled?
Yeah, like an odd...
Like something's wrong in the Matrix. Like there's a glitch in the Matrix type of thing.
It's like if you had an old TV and your rabbit ears are like out of sync or something.
Exactly.
You just need to smack the side of the TV to get it to work again.
Yeah. It's just like this little twinge where like something's just eating at you, or you don't notice it until it's there, and then it's like, oh fuck.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
So every issue came out with high acclaim.
Yeah.
And every single review show, if you are listening to comic book podcasts, wouldn't even bring it up anymore because it's just consistently good. Mm-hmm. But when it finally got to issue 12, and everyone was like, so what does this mean?
Yeah. Yeah, and we'll spoil it here because we spoil everything, but just forewarning, it's not like a life-shattering spoiler that we're going to talk about. It's just kind of how it wraps up. Mm-hmm. But it poses a question, I guess, and I guess kind of leaves the viewer to make up their own conclusion. Yeah.
But when I talked to you before about this, we both had differences of opinion, too.
Yes.
I kind of...
So what's the question?
Is he dead?
Yes. So is Scott Free dead through the whole book?
Right.
Is he Bruce Willising his way through?
It's some weird Jacob's Ladder situation, right?
Yeah, yep.
I do think he did die. That's my personal thing right at the beginning. And the whole rest of the book is an odd, weird purgatory that he kind of lives in. So that's why there's like glitches here and there. There's also subtle things that are different from issue to issue. Like they bring up Big Barda, the color of her eyes in the beginning, and then later on, a few issues later, her eyes are a different color.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't catch that.
So it's just like small little things like that. It's like, is this the real world, or is this like kind of what he's forcing the world to be in this weird purgatory that never really ends up great for him?
Yeah.
That's where I'm kind of where he's at right now. He couldn't. He tried to escape life, but he couldn't really escape death. So he's kind of just hanging in here in this weird purgatory.
Okay. I'm okay with that. I am firmly in the camp that it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I think he exists in some state of being, and it doesn't matter if he's alive or dead, heaven, hell, purgatory, he's still being troubled by this gnawing anxiety. And the main takeaway is he continues fighting it.
Yeah, I don't think anybody is wrong, whatever they take away from it, because I think even like Gerads and King even said the same thing. It's like, it's whatever you want it to be. Like, I just want to tell a story, and this is what it is.
Yeah, it's a bit of the Inception spinning top there,
Yeah,
where like
exactly.
the entire point is to make you question. There isn't a right or wrong answer to it.
Right.
What I like is it ends with him and his wife relaxing on the couch, as they do frequently through this.
Yes.
And he says something like, oh, I forgot to pick something up at the store. And she jokingly says, like, Darkseid is. It's essentially like, shit happens.
Yep.
And he responds, yeah, I know, but we are too. And that's kind of like the last line, essentially, of the book, which is just like, yeah, like, life sucks, but what do? You keep going. And I feel like that is his progression through this, where he's kind of overcome an arc. He's not suicidal anymore.
Right.
He's not looking for an escape from his like overwhelming life and frustrating child and all that. He's just like, that's life.
Yeah.
So he keeps on going.
And I can see there's a lot of people when it came out that there's like, oh, that's it? Like, that's not really all that interesting. And I'm like, but didn't you read the rest of the story? Like, it's all kind of this weird, mundane adventure through this weird, high, fantastical lens.
Yeah.
And, like, this is, like, the perfect way to end it.
Oh, it's totally how it would end. I would be disappointed if it ended any other way.
Like, I see where they were building up to in, like, issue 11, where they had, like, penultimate showdown with Darkseid.
Yeah.
Where, like, the stroller was a laser beam or something like that.
And the god-killing dagger was hidden in the veggie tray.
Also, if anyone could make a veggie tray look as delicious as Mitch Gerads,
oh man,
you done did it.
Yeah.
I always wanted just a carrot at any point in time and reading this book.
So, like, the main takeaway of this is keep going, I feel like.
Mm-hmm.
You know, life sucks.
Mm-hmm.
Keep going.
Yep.
It's not any better on the other side, I think. You persevere. And there's also kind of a very stark differentiation between good and bad in this, because Scott Free's own father, who is essentially good,
yes,
inherently good, gives him up to the worst person you could ever imagine.
Yes.
And his own brother is awful, even though he's for the side of good.
Right.
And Granny Goodness herself, who is a terrible person, still shows him compassion.
Yes.
Or at least he remembers that as a child.
Yes.
So there is kind of like this yin-yang motif throughout it too, where like it's just, that's what life is. It's good and bad.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Mm-hmm.
It's ups and downs. What do you make of the anti-life equation?
I'm not sure, because at first it was introduced to me through a Morrison lens. Early on, like when I was really doing a deep dive into comics and stuff, and I was like, that's kind of a cool idea. But if it's extrapolated too much on and you think about it too hard, it's like, it's not going to make any sense.
Right. It's one of those concepts that I like the idea of, but I have a really hard time wrapping my head around it.
Yeah,
and
same.
processing it.
Yeah.
It's essentially, it's an equation. I don't know how you actually formulate it or put it into practice, but whoever is being controlled by it is immediately they give up the will to live and become subservient.
Right.
So, could you argue that humanity is in a state of the anti-life equation because we're all essentially like drones looking at our phones, doing, mundane shit?
Could be.
Buying what we're told to buy.
I mean, it could be. We just need one extra variable in there. Some imaginary number that just shows up. And we're just like, blah.
I don't know. I felt like he didn't dive too much into that.
But didn't, in Final Crisis, they do more of the anti-life equation?
Yeah.
Even like maybe have a diagram of it, if I'm trying to remember correctly.
Probably.
And I didn't necessarily care for all that. I found it somewhat interesting, but then again, if you think about it too hard...
Yeah, I think it was a full equation. Yeah. Like, anxiety plus grief minus sunshine.
I think I got just enough of all of the... You know what? I actually could have taken more fourth world stuff, actually, if I'm thinking back on reading this whole thing. It deals a lot with their stuff on Earth, and like they jump all the time via boom tubes.
Boom tubes.
Up to Apocalypse or
Call
wherever.
Up my boom tube. Oh, it's 3 minutes out.
But it could have dove, I guess, more into maybe the Kirby absurdity a little bit more. That would have been fine. Mm-hmm. But then again, like, I liked it just the way it was as well.
It's funny, every character outside of Scott Free, and to a lesser extent Big Barda, were really super Kirby.
Yes,
and he was very just like, nah, gotta go pay my taxes or whatever. Like boring adult stuff.
Yeah. Oh, clip my nail too short again.
Oh, God, that's the worst. Escape that one, Free. Oh. Let's talk about Scott and Barda.
Okay.
What'd you think of their relationship?
I loved it.
Me too. I think it's probably one of the best examples of like a marriage in comics.
Yeah.
The most realistic example.
Yeah. And maybe it's just through this Tom King lens where they do like more of this weird mundane stuff that I really appreciated it.
Yeah.
But I like that they just count on each other, and I also like that just the weird difference between them physically is really a fun thing, where Barda's like the heavy hitter and Mr. Miracle's like this other scrawny little guy, like just escaping through all this stuff.
Yeah, and she's even like self-conscious about it. She's always like, "Oh, I'm too big." And he's like, "No, you're perfect." It's just like, I love their relationship.
But unfortunately, I don't think if we get her in something else but this, it'd be the same.
No, definitely not. I don't think you can capture his take on these guys in anything else.
Right.
Just like Vision. Vision, it had the same kind of mundane things that him and his wife talked about, but that wouldn't work in an Avengers book. If the Avengers are like, Vision, we need you here now. He's like, oh, I have to take my kids to school. By my approximation, traffic should be really backed up on the 905. You know? Yeah, it only works in this weird Tom King reality.
Yeah. So is this canon?
I don't know.
I don't know. I would think it's...
I think that was another question by the ending. They're like, is this a story within a story? Is this another dimension, another take? And like, I don't think it matters. I think it just is.
Yeah. Which I'm fine with too. But like, I can see because of its popularity that they try to like maybe pigeonhole it into
I could see
this
him like
thing over in the corner that's still happening in the DC universe somewhere.
I could see him retroactively bringing things in from this, like maybe his kid. Like, now Scott Free has a kid.
Yep.
But they don't directly reference things. Kind of like Killing Joke, you know?
Right. Cripple the bitch.
Exactly. Yeah. But you don't talk about when Gordon was wearing that dog collar.
Right.
Wasn't a good look for him.
Right.
So as a fairly new father, how'd you take to all the new baby stuff in this? Was it sending you into like PTSD?
Well, granted, I didn't have to do a lot of what Scott Free had to do in this. But
I love that his stuff that he has to do, like his job is like going to the fourth world and like fighting hordes of demons.
Yeah.
And then he comes back and he's like, ugh, rough day at the office. Like, I gotta take the kid.
Takes his boots off and he has to like feed him hot dogs.
Yeah, like he could very well just be coming back from like a marketing position, you know?
Yeah, right.
It's not important what he's doing. Like the importance is that he has a stressful job and a stressful time at home with a newborn.
Right. I loved all the kid stuff though. It rang so true.
Yeah.
It's like, what time did you give him medicine? Like, I don't know. Like, all that kind of stuff.
You know,
like,
they're relaxing on the couch, and they're like, oh, it took, 5 times trying to get out of the room before he went down.
Right.
And then, like, all of a sudden he wakes up again, and they're like, oh, boy. You know? Been there. The veggie tray, the aforementioned veggie tray, which has multiple pivotal roles in this, is fantastic.
Yes.
I love the reoccurring Batman kills babies quote.
Yes.
Because his nanny, Funky, wants to toss in a Batman doll in the crib. Now they can't have toys in there. It'll kill him. That Batman will kill that baby. Oh, and I loved where Scott goes out to a bar with Blue Beetle and Booster Gold.
Hell yeah.
That's so good.
That's a good issue.
Trying to come up with like a team up with them, and he's like trying to Uber his boom tube there, and he's like, the war and the fourth world is messing it up. It's gonna be longer. It's like 4 minutes now.
There's also fun little nods too in the last issue, and this is I think just Gerads doing, is that he put in a bunch of creators in the first few pages where he's doing like his escape act, and in the audience you see like these famous faces.
Yeah, himself and King are in there.
There's like DiDio and Jim Lee.
Yep.
There's a ton of Earwolf podcasters in there, like Scott Aukerman and Adam Scott.
Really?
Lauren Lapkus, Paul F. Tompkins, Jason Mantzoukas, Paul Scheer. Like they're all in the audience because he just, I guess, would plug into Earwolf podcasts and just listen to them all day while he drew. Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
And I love, too, where he goes to the Hollywood Walk of Fame and puts his hand alongside Jack Kirby, which is this great, like, touching his creator type of meta moment.
Yeah.
So then, along with the humor, this book also balances the emotional beats very well. There's a lot of quiet moments between Scott and Barda that are just fantastic. And we didn't mention Gerads' 9-panel grid. Well, maybe it's King's. I'm sure it's more King's than Gerads. But that just like in Watchmen, it handles the pacing and like the story beats so well.
Yeah.
It's so cinematic feeling.
Especially like quiet moments where not even a lot is said. They just sit in that moment and you can just see it.
Yeah.
Every single panel. Really great.
Yep. There's a moment where Scott is in the shower and Barda's calling to him asking like how they should be planning for their son's birthday, his first birthday. And in that moment, Scott is just like overwhelmed with the weight of everything. And you just see him like standing up there to like breaking down and just like just cowering on the floor. And it's like, oh my God, you feel so bad for this guy. He like literally has the weight of the fourth world on his shoulders.
Yeah.
And it's just that moment is just like too much.
Yeah. So all in all, it was a great year because I don't think it was ever late.
No, I don't think so.
And it every single month I really look forward to reading what Tom King gave us from this character that I really didn't care much about.
No. In the format, like even though it was 12 issues, it was very much like a one and done type of story too, where you could read each individual issue knowing the general plot line and not have to go back like, all right, so what happened in the last one?
Right.
There were just these little snapshots into their lives.
Yeah. Right before this book debuted, I was listening to a podcast with John Suntress, who was talking with Tom King, and he was saying, I've got an upcoming project. I can't really talk about it right now. It ended up being Mr. Miracle.
Yeah.
But both him and Mitch Gerads said, like, if there was any one thing that you ever wanted to do for DC and could do anything, what would it be? And they both said Mr. Miracle at the exact same time.
Really?
Yeah. And it was, like, so weird that it was just that, and it turned into this, and it was, like, the biggest thing for, like, the whole year.
Yeah. Who would have ever thought that Mr. Miracle would be the book of the year?
I had no idea.
Just like who would have thought Vision would have been the book of the year before that?
Right.
It's obviously a Tom King thing,
Right.
but wow, man,
Yeah.
that guy has some pull right now.
Yeah. You can really do no wrong. And I know there's a lot of, like, people, like, that don't like his stuff, which is fine. Like, tastes are different. But I really think it's a refreshing little wave of everything that Tom King's doing right now to, like, really touch on these little moments of characters, whoever he picks, whether it be Mr. Miracle, Vision, Batman, whoever. I think it's
Adam Strange. I'm tossing my vote in right now.
Yeah.
He's gonna do an Adam Strange.
See,
book.
that's what I thought too, because there's been a lot of Adam Strange poppings up here and there.
Yeah.
And I think they're getting
testing
everyone.
the waters.
Yeah. So anyway.
It's weird. We read a lot of Tom King just recently because we did Vision not too long ago, and then we did his entire Batman run up until now, and then we did Mr. Miracle. And there are moments in Batman where I feel like it's a little Tom King-y, you know?
Yeah.
But I enjoy it. But just like reading something by Bendis, I'm like, it's a little Bendis-y, you know, or it's
Right.
a little Morrison-y.
Right.
You know, he has a voice.
Yes.
You immediately know you're reading a Tom King book, for better or for worse. This one, you immediately know it's a Tom King, but nothing bugged me like occasionally Batman did.
Yeah.
I think it really suited his story in this.
And I think what would hinder Batman more than maybe this is that Batman is an ongoing. And so maybe, like, there's one that's not going to be as strong that comes out, and it's like, well, I'm going to do this.
Exactly.
Whereas you know that he was planning every beat of this.
Yeah.
For sure.
And Batman is such a pre-established character, and everyone comes in with their own thoughts and feelings, where Mr. Miracle is essentially a blank slate. Just like Vision was.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
So he's free to do whatever, and I would say right now he is put down the definitive take on Mr. Miracle.
Probably.
Like, this is the one to beat. And I don't think anyone's gonna, because they're gonna be like, what the fuck else am I gonna do?
Yeah. Oh, boy. But yeah, so that is all in all, Mr. Miracle. The trade is out now. Have you read it? Did you read it monthly? Let us know down below.
Yeah. What'd you think? If you're not big on books like this, how'd it grab you?
Yeah. You can also join our conversation on Patreon if you wish to do that sort of thing, where we have a twice monthly podcast where we come out for all the patrons out there, as well as a slew of other things. But before we head out, I just want to say that I'm Short of the Match Extreme.
Oh, that's all you're gonna say?
Yeah, that's it.
All right.
But I didn't want to leave them hanging.
All right. Well, I'm still Ghost Hunter Dave too.
And this has been Imperius Rex. We'll see you next time.
Cheers. It's all the way over there.
It's empty anyway.
Darkseid is.